But the defining vision of the city of the future came from the cinema, in British director Ridley Scott's 1982 sci-fi noir, Blade Runner. Scott's portrait of Los Angeles in 2019 owes much to the skyscrapers and airships of Metropolis, but it also blended the industrial northeast of his boyhood with the bustling alleys of Hong Kong. Somewhere in this vast infernal city lurks a group of rogue androids known as replicants, and they are being hunted down by a Blade Runner, a detective who specializes in unmasking the androids hidden in the shadows.
Basically, the noir side of the sets, right, were really going, it looks too new. Can you do something to it? Take a sledgehammer to it.
So I read the script and got the definite idea that it was sort of a crappy world. So I thought, well, I can do that. You know, I'm a designer. I can manufacture a dystopian world.
It's a vision where not everything works very well, but we know that. That's why would the future be different from now? Half the things we make don't work or are nonsense. It's a mess, you know. Life's a mess.
It wasn't a brand new idea. Even Star Wars got some of it in. Things were old and beat up in some places. But Ridley caught that sense of the future is already old.
The name we came up was Retro Deco, and the other one was Trash Chic.
Blade Runner's unforgettable look made it the benchmark for all visions of the future. But Ridley Scott's liberal use of the rain machine also helped to hide the staged trickery used to make Sid Mead's vehicles look realistic.
When the spinner lifts off in the rain, the reason he had rain is because it comes down vertically, and it helped to hide the wires holding the prop up.
The film's real achievement lies in the way it conjures a credible three-dimensional world, complete with its own futuristic way of dressing and talking. Indeed, the actor Edward James Olmos even devised a whole new language for his character, Gaff.
When I walked in there, I talked gibberish. I just put a bunch of sounds together of different languages. What? Of course, nobody understood me.
In this scene, Olmos uses his invented language to identify Detective Deckard as a former Blade Runner.
He say you Blade Runner.
Tell him I'm eating.
But the chef's translation doesn't quite capture the jumble of European and Asian obscenities that Olmos had strung together.
I say lo fast, nehochmar, devaja Blade Runner. And which means, oh, big horse dick, you are the Blade Runner. The people who knew the languages would just roll on the ground and fall out. They couldn't believe that somebody had said that, you know.
With its melting pot of languages, its teeming streets and post-industrial architecture, Blade Runner has come to define science fiction's dystopian vision of the future. It was based on a novel, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, first published in 1968 by the Californian maverick Philip K. Dick. I left the TV sound off and I sat down at my mood organ and I experimented. And I finally found a setting for despair. So I put it on my schedule for twice a month. I think that's a reasonable amount of time to feel hopeless about everything. Philip K. Dick was one of science fiction's genuine greats. Reading his books often feels like a hallucinogenic experience, rather like being thrust into the future after downing a bucket of LSD. But perhaps that's hardly surprising, because Philip K. Dick was immersed in the psychedelic counterculture of late 60s San Francisco. He claimed to have had visions of life in ancient Rome, and even to have been possessed by the spirit of the prophet Elijah. And he believed that he was getting messages from outer space.
Philip K. Dick was a marvelous science fiction writer. He had an uncanny intuition for turning contemporary America and the global situation in the 60s and 70s into science fiction metaphors. He uses the ordinary devices of science fiction like robots, time travel, aliens, telekinetic powers, and the like, all jumbled together in a mash that doesn't make logical sense and feels sort of like a dream, and yet it seems to capture the way life felt, both in the 1960s and even now.
Philip K. Dick's work endures because his unsettling, paranoid vision of the future still feels remarkably prophetic. He was writing about state surveillance, virtual reality, and the dangers of technology, not just years, but decades ago. His tomorrow often feels uncannily like our today.